Today is day number 94. We're going to start by reading in the book of Ephesians chapter 4, verses 26 through 29. And it says, "And don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. If you're a thief, quit stealing. Instead, use your hands for good, hard work, and then give generously to others in need. Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them." And that's reading from the New Living Translation. This to me screams self-discipline, and it screams taking inventory and being honest to yourself. Where am I at currently? Is that right? And if not, how do I change for the better? And the quote that I have today is in this same theme of self-discipline that we talk about all the time. And I wouldn't talk about it if it wasn't, first of all, in the Bible so much, but also just important to me and truly what helps me get the most out of this life. Helps you stay on track and to be the best version of who God created you to be. So the quote that I have today, it says, "Freedom is born of self-discipline. The undisciplined man is a slave to his own weakness." The undisciplined man is a slave to his own weakness. I think the question we have to ask ourselves is like, what, if anything, is holding you captive? And you might have to do a little soul searching, because a lot of times what's holding us captive are things that we don't want to admit are. Is it a substance? Is it attention? Is it your phone? Is it something that may not even seemingly be bad on the surface, like sports or, an unhealthy balanced schedule, a non-balanced schedule? So I think we have to ask ourselves that question, like, what is holding us captive? What's keeping us from being who God created us to be? What's keeping us from being optimal? What's keeping us from taking care of ourselves? And then the next question I would ask myself is, have I tried to break free from that captivity? And if I'm still struggling with that weakness and I'm still being held captive by it, why are my attempts of breaking free not working? You can't keep trying the same thing if you're on your 17th try of trying to break free from some thing that's holding you back. You have got to try something different, and that difference is God, because what I have written next here is like, we cannot do it alone. Like, our human discipline and our human desire will fall short. It's not sustainable. We will go right back eventually to what got us in that predicament in the first place, what got us into that unhealthy balance. We just self-sabotage as humans a lot of times, where we'll just find a pitfall and we'll try to pull ourselves out of it, but oftentimes we end up right back there again. So I wrote again, we can't do it alone. It takes God to intervene for us and to purify us for that change to be sustainable. And then I also wrote, it takes God, and then after that, I think it also takes community. It takes people that care about you, that have your best interest at heart, and that you can lean on in times where you're not always going to feel great. You're not always going to have the positive human emotion of happiness. You're going to have pain. You're going to have fear at times. You're going to have annoyance, just all these different things that are going to make, when you experience negative human emotion, it's going to make the sustainable part of that change, the consistency, a lot harder. You're going to want to fall right back into old habits. You're going to want to run to whatever it was that's pacifying you or making you comfortable in that short term. And that's why we run to vices. That's why we run to our phones. That's why we run to substances. That's why we run to attention. And those things often don't have our long-term best interest at heart. So we can't do it alone. I think it takes God intervening on our behalf, asking him to put that spirit in us to be able to be sustainable with the changes we're making. Even if you don't feel like it, you are working for God's plan in your life, and that will help you sustain the changes that you work so hard to make. Again, verse 27 there where it says, "For anger gives a foothold to the devil." And for me, like, I don't think we actively intentionally say, "Oh, I'm gonna start doing said thing and I'm gonna give the devil a foothold." Like it's we can justify, "Oh, it's just one," and then insert your vice there. It's just one drink. It's just one 1 hour on Facebook. And again, it's not about being perfect, but everyone's got different things for them that they can't always control. It's different for everyone. But if you're finding that something is really holding you back to where you can't strike a good balance with something, you got to ask yourself the tough question. It's like, am I giving the devil a foothold? And if so, do I need to stop? And do I need to do something else that's going to fill my plate in a better fashion? I just love the bluntness of the verses there after verse 27 and 28 and 29. It just says, "If you're a thief, quit stealing. Instead, use your hands for something good, and then give generously to those in need." And then it goes on to say, like, "Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them." Hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself to a high standard. You're going to get a lot farther than you would have if you never read these words, never leaned on God. We can do it. We can do hard things, and we can do more than we ever thought we could. But I truly believe it starts with, like, not giving Satan a foothold. One pastor, randomly, this pinged in my mind just now, but like 15 years ago, there was a sermon I heard where he's like, if there was a beautiful looking cake, but and a master, like, one of the best baking people in the world made this cake, and they said, "Hey, it's beautiful, it tastes great, it's delicious, but in my ingredients I put this much human feces in it. Would you eat it?" Like, no, just the thought of that would disgust you, and you absolutely wouldn't eat it. But then if there was another person that made a cake and it looked awful, maybe just wasn't aesthetically pleasing at all, but it had all really clean ingredients and it tasted delicious, you'd be more likely to eat that one because it just doesn't have the bad stuff in it. And I thought that was interesting. It's always kind of stuck with me, is like, just a little bit of something bad can really taint something like a beautiful creation. So again, I know it's humans, we're not perfect, we're so far from it, and it's hard to even strive for perfection, but we want to be like Jesus, and he gives us a template on how to live. And that's just my pursuit, is like, if I'm actively doing something where I know it goes back to, I'm tainting something that I know I could clean up in my life to really make that beautiful looking cake, that beautiful creation, actually pure and not impure, then that's what I'm going to try to pursue. So don't give Satan a foothold. Remember those verses in Ephesians chapter 4. And again, remember that freedom is born of self-discipline, and that's day 94.